Imagine living in the heart of a bustling city, surrounded by millions, and yet no one notices when you vanish. This is the chilling reality we are about to uncover, a mystery so haunting it will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about human connections. Today, we're diving into the horrifying discovery of Joyce Vincent, a woman whose life and death remained unnoticed for years. But how does someone disappear in plain sight? Stay with us as we unravel this dark, true crime story filled with eerie twists and turns, guaranteed to keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. Joyce Vincent's background is a tale that starts with promise and hope. Born on October 19, 1965, in Hammersmith, London, Joyce Carol Vincent was the daughter of immigrants from Grenada. Her early life was marked by warmth and nurturing as she grew up with her 4 sisters. Described by friends and family as intelligent, charming, and vivacious, Joyce had a radiant presence that drew people to her. She was a lover of music, frequently singing and dreaming of a career that would one day take her into the spotlight. After completing her education, Joyce began working at a prestigious accounting firm. Her potential shone brightly, and she climbed the corporate ladder, impressing her colleagues with her drive and dedication. Yet, it wasn't just her professional life that seemed promising. Joyce's personal life appeared equally full. She had a wide circle of friends, and her relationships were often described as vibrant and filled with laughter. Despite this external picture of success and connection, Joyce's life began to take a darker turn. Her relationships started to show cracks, friendships faded, and romantic endeavors often ended in heartbreak. By the late 90s, Joyce began to distance herself from those around her. Details of her struggles with domestic violence and an abusive relationship emerged, painting a picture of a woman trapped in a cycle of despair and isolation. This period marked the beginning of Joyce's retreat from the world, a gradual withdrawal that went unnoticed by many. Her career began to falter, leading to a series of temporary jobs and unstable living conditions. Joyce started to move frequently, and with each move, she became more estranged from her friends and family. By the early 2000s, Joyce had completely severed ties with those who once knew her best. She transitioned from one address to another until she finally settled into a bedsit in Wood Green, North London. It was here, in this nondescript flat, that Joyce Vincent would make her final stand. The vibrant woman who had once captivated so many was now disappearing into the shadows, leaving behind little more than whispers of a forgotten life. The second practice in understanding Joyce's disappearance involves piecing together the timeline leading up to her vanishing. As Joyce distanced herself from friends and family, her life became increasingly solitary. The last known interactions around her disappearance paint a dismal picture. In November 2003, Joyce was admitted to the hospital for a peptic ulcer. This brief hospital stay was one of the last documented events in her life. Upon her release, she returned to her bedsit in Wood Green, North London. Despite being in a large city, Joyce's isolation deepened. Bills piled up, and her landlord grew concerned about the lack of payment. However, the situation didn't reach a crucial point until 2006, when her housing benefits were cut off due to her unresponsiveness. During this period, Joyce received numerous letters and eviction warnings, but no one came to check on her. Her once lively presence had faded into complete silence. Neighbors, although physically close, were oblivious to her growing plight. The clue to her disappearance came from the daily mundanity of life. The unopened mail, the unpaid rent, the quiet life spiraling into an unnoticed abyss. Joyce's final interactions were fragmented and sparse. She had little contact with her family, who mostly lived outside London, and her friends had lost touch with her over the years. Loneliness wrapped around her like a shroud, and with it, the world forgot she existed. Her absence went unreported, unnoticed, which leads us to the chilling reality. In a city filled with millions, it was as if Joyce Vincent vanished in plain sight. Stay with us as we delve further into this dark story, uncovering the sad truth behind Joyce's final days and the shocking discovery that followed. The discovery of Joyce Vincent's body was as shocking as it was heartbreaking. In January 2006, officials from the Metropolitan Housing Trust arrived at her wood green bedsit to repossess the flat due to unpaid rent. What they found was beyond anyone's darkest imaginings. The flat was eerily silent, the air thick with an unbearable stench that hinted at a grim reality. As they opened the door, they were met with an unimaginable sight. Joyce Vincent's skeletal remains lying on the floor, still surrounded by Christmas presents she had been wrapping. It was a macabre snapshot of a life halted abruptly in its tracks. The television, still buzzing, cast a ghostly blue light across the room, playing a channel that had long since gone off air. The scene was like something out of a horror movie, yet it was the horrifying truth of Joyce Vincent's final chapter. It was estimated that Joyce had been dead for nearly 3 years, her body decomposing in complete isolation. The windows were sealed shut, and the noise of the bustling city outside provided a stark contrast to the desolation within. Neighbors had noticed a strange smell and a constant drone from her flat, but no one had investigated further. The mystery deepened as details emerged about her unnoticed death. How could a woman, once so full of life and surrounded by people, be forgotten so thoroughly? Authorities pieced together the scant clues left behind, but many questions remained unanswered. How had Joyce slipped through the cracks of society so completely? The discovery of Joyce Vincent's body highlighted the terrifying reality of urban isolation. In a world where we're more connected than ever, Joyce's tragic end serves as a haunting reminder of the fragility of human connections. Stick with us as we continue to explore the layers of this unsettling story, shedding light on how such a profound loneliness can exist amidst the chaos of city life. The state of Joyce Vincent's apartment was a profound testament to her isolation. Imagine walking into a small, dimly lit space that felt frozen in time. Dust covered every surface, thick and undisturbed, indicating years of neglect. The air was heavy and stale, carrying a pungent odor that struck the senses as soon as the door was opened. The apartment was cluttered but devoid of life, a stark contrast to the bustling world outside. Her bed was unmade, with faded sheets tangled and no signs of recent use. The kitchen sink was filled with dirty dishes that had sat there for an eternity, adding to the oppressive stench. Cabinets were left ajar, revealing half-empty food containers long past their expiration dates. It was as if time had paused, leaving everything exactly where it had been when she last interacted with it. On the floor, alongside her skeletal remains, were Christmas presents wrapped neatly in colorful paper, a poignant reminder of a holiday she never got to celebrate. The television's blue glow illuminated the room, still on but broadcasting nothing, creating an unsettling ambience of a life that had continued in silence. The walls, once adorned with personal touches, were now bare, stripped of any indication of a vibrant existence. Every corner of the apartment told a story of abandonment, each item a silent witness to Joyce's final moments. The refrigerator held forgotten leftovers, now unrecognizable, and the furniture, once arranged to suit a lively occupant, now looked like relics of an abandoned life. Dust motes floated in the stagnant air, visible in the weak light seeping through the drawn blinds. The overall scene was haunting, the epitome of solitude in the midst of a city that had unknowingly carried on without her. The eerie stillness was palpable, a chilling reminder of how utterly alone Joyce had been in her final days. The atmosphere of her apartment was not just that of neglect, but of a life tragically and thoroughly overlooked, highlighting the profound depths of urban isolation. Stay with us as we explore the profound impact of Joyce Vincent's silent suffering and the broader implications it holds for understanding human disconnection in modern society. The initial reactions to the discovery of Joyce Vincent's body were ones of shock, disbelief, and deep sorrow. Authorities who arrived at the scene were initially struck by the overwhelming stench that permeated the entire flat. The sight of her skeletal remains amidst the eerie glow of the television was something they could hardly have prepared for. As they processed the scene, the realization that Joyce had been dead for nearly 3 years without anyone noticing began to sink in. It was a deeply unsettling thought, highlighting a tragic lapse in communal vigilance. The Metropolitan Housing Trust officials were appalled by how unnoticed her absence had gone. They had been trying to contact Joyce due to her unpaid rent, but never imagined that their repossession efforts would lead to such a grim discovery. Neighbors, when interviewed, expressed a mix of horror and guilt. Many admitted they had noticed a strange smell emanating from her flat and the constant hum of her TV, but no one took action to investigate further. Their reactions ranged from disbelief to profound regret, as they struggled to reconcile the fact that someone could die in such close proximity to them without their awareness. Some neighbors spoke of brief interactions with Joyce, describing her as polite yet reserved in her final years, a stark contrast to the vibrant woman she once was. The community as a whole grappled with a haunting sense of responsibility, questioning how such profound isolation could occur in a densely populated area. News of Joyce's tragically unnoticed death quickly spread, drawing widespread media attention. Coverage highlighted the haunting nature of her demise, prompting a broader societal reflection on issues of loneliness and urban alienation. Commentators expressed outrage and sorrow, using Joyce's story as a poignant example of how the modern world can sometimes fail to recognize and address the silent suffering of individuals. Joyce's death became a catalyst for discussions on social responsibility, urging communities to be more vigilant and compassionate towards those around them. The collective response was a mix of mourning and a call to action, underscoring the urgent need to bridge the gaps that allow such devastating loneliness to persist. The emotional weight of these initial reactions set the stage for a deeper exploration into how society can prevent similar tragedies, ensuring that no one else slips through the cracks unnoticed. Stay with us as we continue to unravel the layers of this heart-wrenching story, delving into the systemic issues that contributed to Joyce Vincent's overlooked existence. The discovery of Joyce Vincent's body raised numerous unanswered questions that continue to haunt both authorities and the public. How did her vibrant life transform so drastically into one of utter isolation? What were the key moments that led to this tragic end? These questions linger, casting a shadow over her story and leaving us to ponder the complexities of human existence and connection. One of the most pressing questions is how a woman with such a bright future and strong social circle could become invisible. What happened to the friends and family who once surrounded her? Post-discovery interviews revealed that Joyce had increasingly withdrawn, but how did an entire network of people fail to notice her absence? Was it the fast-paced, detached nature of city life that allowed her to slip through the cracks, or were there deeper, more personal failings at play? Another critical question revolves around Joyce's physical and mental health. Records indicate she suffered from peptic ulcers, but is it possible she had other undiagnosed conditions that contributed to her reclusion? Did she reach out for help, only to be ignored or misunderstood? The state of her apartment suggested a life of decline, but what exact circumstances precipitated her final, fatal retreat? Financial records showed that her benefits had been cut off, leading to mounting unpaid bills. Yet why did no social services intervene? Was it an administrative oversight, or did Joyce's own actions of severing ties complicate any efforts to reach her? The systemic failure to support her raises questions about the adequacy of social safety nets in large cities. Moreover, the role of technology in her unnoticed death cannot be ignored. The constant hum of her TV masked the absence of other noises, but how did it contribute to neighbors' perceptions of normalcy? Were there any digital footprints, such as emails or online interactions, that could have hinted at her deteriorating situation? In a world increasingly governed by digital communication, how do we account for and prevent such silent disappearances? The unopened mail and eviction warnings indicate attempts to reach her, yet why did none result in a welfare check? The procedural protocols followed by her landlord and housing officials come into question. Could there have been more stringent measures to ensure tenant welfare beyond just financial follow-ups? Ultimately, the discovery of Joyce Vincent's body serves as a stark reminder of the dark corners of urban life. It forces us to confront not only the societal structures that failed her, but also the personal and communal responsibilities we bear towards one another. As we continue to seek answers, Joyce's story remains a poignant call to action, urging us to pay closer attention to the silent struggles happening around us every day. Stay with us as we explore the potential solutions and societal changes needed to prevent such heart-wrenching tragedies in the future. Possible theories surrounding Joyce Vincent's cause of death are as enigmatic as the circumstances of her final years. One prevailing theory posits that Joyce's health conditions, specifically her peptic ulcers, may have played a critical role. Peptic ulcers can lead to severe complications such as internal bleeding, which, if left untreated, can be fatal. Combined with potential malnutrition and lack of medical care, her deteriorating health could have led to a tragic outcome. Another hypothesis considers the possibility of an accidental overdose. Joyce was known to have had periods of severe physical pain and might have resorted to self-medicating. The isolation of her final days suggests that if she had been using painkillers or other medications, an unintentional overdose could have occurred without immediate intervention. There's also the consideration of mental health struggles leading to her demise. Joyce's increasing isolation and detachment from her support network might indicate that she was suffering from depression or other mental illnesses. Mental health issues, especially when untreated, can significantly impact one's physical health, potentially leading to fatal outcomes. Additionally, the state of her apartment hints at severe neglect. The accumulation of dirt and the unkempt environment suggest that Joyce may have been unable or unwilling to care for herself properly, leading to conditions such as infections that went untreated. The fact that her skeletal remains were found near Christmas presents she had been wrapping indicates a sudden and unexpected end. Perhaps a sudden medical event like a heart attack or stroke precipitated by the stress and loneliness enveloping her life. Lack of external signs of injury suggests that whatever led to Joyce's death likely occurred internally. Despite the various theories, the precise cause of her death remains unresolved, compounded by the significant decomposition of her body over the 3 years she lay undiscovered. Autopsies and forensic analyses provided some clues, but the advanced state of decay limited definitive conclusions. Ultimately, Joyce Vincent's death underscores a confluence of factors: physical health issues, mental health struggles, and profound isolation. Her passing serves as a somber reminder of the importance of vigilance, community, and the need for robust support systems to ensure that no one is left to fade away unnoticed. As we continue to reflect on Joyce's story, we are reminded of the delicate balance of life and the critical need for compassion and connection. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the lessons learned from this haunting case and explore how we can prevent similar tragedies in the future. Isolation and society reflect upon the social issues highlighted by Joyce's isolated death. It's an unsettling reality that in our rapidly modernizing world, where interconnectedness is just a click away, people like Joyce can still fall through the cracks unnoticed. Her story forces us to confront the paradox of urban isolation, where individuals are surrounded by millions yet remain profoundly alone. This tragic case sheds light on several social issues, beginning with the disintegration of community bonds. As cities grow, they become bustling hives of activity, but this influx often comes at the cost of personal connections. Neighbors become strangers, and the once tight-knit communities where everyone looked out for one another are increasingly rare. Joyce's unnoticed absence over several years underscores a significant lapse in communal vigilance and empathy. Another glaring issue is the failure of social safety nets. Joyce's benefits were cut off without anyone checking in on her well-being, a stark reminder that our systems often prioritize bureaucratic processes over human concern. This tragedy points to the need for more robust social services that consider the holistic view of an individual's circumstances rather than merely their economic status. Moreover, Joyce's death highlights the stigma surrounding mental health and domestic violence. Despite hints of her struggles, there seemed to be little to no intervention, suggesting that these critical issues were either overlooked or inadequately addressed. Society's reluctance to engage with and support those facing such challenges often leaves individuals feeling isolated and hopeless. The role of modern technology also comes under scrutiny. While we are more digitally connected than ever, this can create a false sense of social support. Joyce's constant television noise masked the reality of her silent suffering, raising questions about how technology aids or impedes genuine human connection. Her story is a call to action, urging us to bridge the gap between digital interactions and real-life engagement. The consequences of urban alienation extend beyond Joyce's story, reflecting a broader societal problem. We must ask ourselves how many more individuals are out there, silently struggling, unnoticed by the world around them. Her case calls for a societal shift towards increased awareness, compassion, and proactive support. As communities, we need to rekindle the sense of collective responsibility, ensuring that no one feels invisible. Joyce's life and death serve as a wake-up call, reminding us that behind every closed door, there could be a story of silent despair. By fostering stronger community ties, improving social safety nets, and addressing mental health and domestic violence proactively, we can create a society where no one is left to face their struggles alone. Stay with us as we explore potential solutions and societal changes needed to prevent such heart-wrenching tragedies in the future. Investigating Joyce Vincent's financial situation reveals critical aspects that contributed to her tragic isolation. As we delve deeper into her story, we uncover a pattern of economic instability that played a significant role in her withdrawal from the world. Joyce's promising career at a prestigious accounting firm initially provided a stable income, allowing her to enjoy a comfortable lifestyle. However, as her personal life began to unravel, so too did her financial security. The late 90s marked the beginning of a downward spiral for Joyce. Her departure from stable employment led to a series of temporary jobs that offered little financial stability. This instability was further compounded by the abusive relationship she endured, which not only took a toll on her mental and physical health, but also left her financially vulnerable. By the early 2000s, Joyce's financial troubles became more pronounced. Without a steady income, she struggled to make ends meet, leading to mounting debts and unpaid bills. As her situation worsened, she moved frequently, seeking cheaper and more temporary housing solutions. Each move distanced her further from friends and family, pushing her deeper into isolation. By the time Joyce settled into the bedsit in Wood Green, her financial situation had become precarious. Her benefits, which had been a lifeline, were eventually cut off due to her unresponsiveness. This occurred in 2006, a critical year that marked the point of no return for Joyce. Without financial support, she was unable to pay her rent, resulting in the accumulation of eviction warnings and unpaid notices. Despite these mounting pressures, no one intervened. Her landlord, focused on the financial aspect, failed to see the human tragedy unfolding behind closed doors. Additionally, the lack of a comprehensive welfare system meant that Joyce fell through the cracks. Her financial struggles went unnoticed by social services, who could have potentially offered the support needed to prevent her grim fate. The unopened mail and unpaid bills in her apartment painted a bleak picture of her final days, a woman drowned in debt and despair, with no one to turn to for help. Joyce's financial decline was exacerbated by the broader economic conditions of the time. The early 2000s saw significant changes in the job market, with increasing job insecurity and rising living costs. For someone already struggling with personal issues, these external factors only added to the burden. In a society where financial stability is often tied to one's sense of security and self-worth, Joyce's economic hardships isolated her further. Her lack of financial resources limited her social interactions and eroded her support network. As her debts grew, so did her sense of shame and hopelessness, leading her to withdraw from the people and opportunities that might have offered a way out. Examining Joyce's financial background highlights the critical intersection between economic stability and social isolation. It underscores the importance of robust safety nets and community support systems that can prevent individuals from slipping into such profound loneliness. Joyce's story reminds us that financial hardship is not just a matter of dollars and cents. It is intrinsically linked to one's emotional and social well-being. Stay with us as we continue to uncover more layers of Joyce Vincent's life, shedding light on the societal failings that contributed to her unnoticed demise. The speculations surrounding Joyce Vincent's mental health offer a somber look into the potential struggles she faced. One of the most likely issues she might have been dealing with is depression. Depression can manifest in many ways, including withdrawal from social circles, lack of motivation, and a general feeling of hopelessness. For Joyce, who was once a vibrant and outgoing individual, the shift to a life of isolation could be indicative of a deep, underlying depressive disorder. Another potential mental health issue is anxiety. The pressures of her declining personal and financial situation might have led to severe anxiety, making it increasingly difficult for her to reach out for help or maintain connections with friends and family. Anxiety can be paralyzing, leading to avoidance behavior, which might explain her unresponsiveness to eviction notices and other communications. Additionally, the trauma of enduring an abusive relationship could not be overlooked. It's possible that Joyce suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, which might have been exacerbated by her isolation. Symptoms of PTSD include severe anxiety, flashbacks, and emotional numbness, which could further contribute to her withdrawal from society. It's also worth considering that Joyce might have struggled with undiagnosed or untreated physical health issues that compounded her mental health struggles. The physical pain from her peptic ulcers, combined with the emotional pain of her life circumstances, could have created a cycle of suffering that was difficult to break. Living in constant pain can significantly impact one's mental health, leading to a sense of despair and resignation. It's important to note that mental health issues often go unnoticed, especially when individuals are isolated. Without a support network, Joyce might not have had access to the resources or encouragement needed to seek help. The stigma surrounding mental health can also deter individuals from reaching out, leading to further isolation and decline. The speculative assessment of Joyce's mental health issues highlights the critical need for better mental health awareness and support systems. In her case, the lack of intervention and understanding from those around her underscores the importance of recognizing and addressing mental health struggles before they escalate. Joyce's story serves as a poignant reminder of the invisible battles many people face daily. As we continue to unravel her tale, we are reminded of the importance of compassion and vigilance in our communities, ensuring that no one is left to face their struggles in silence. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the intricacies of Joyce Vincent's life and the lessons we can learn from her tragic end. Analyzing the media coverage of Joyce Vincent's tragic death reveals a stark contrast between her unnoticed life and sudden posthumous notoriety. When the news of Joyce's undetected death for nearly 3 years broke, it sent shockwaves through the public and media alike. Major newspapers and TV networks quickly picked up the story, drawn by the morbid curiosity and the profound implications it carried. Headlines were sensational, emphasizing the grim details such as her skeletal remains discovered next to untouched Christmas presents and the eerie glow of her ever-buzzing television. The media coverage painted a haunting picture of urban loneliness, making Joyce Vincent a symbol of modern isolation. Initial reports focused heavily on the shocking nature of her death, with many questioning how it was possible for someone to remain unnoticed for so long in a bustling city like London. Journalists delved into the state of her apartment, the unopened mail, and the eviction notices, all contributing to a narrative that pointed fingers at societal failings. The story sparked an intense public reaction, with many expressing horror and sadness over Joyce's fate. Social media platforms buzzed with discussions, with users reflecting on their own lives and the fragility of human connections in today's world. The story struck a nerve, leading to widespread calls for better community vigilance and support systems. As the media continued to report on the story, the coverage began to shift from the initial shock to deeper investigations into Joyce's life. Documentaries and in-depth articles sought to understand the woman behind the headlines, piecing together her background, her dreams, and the unfortunate series of events that led to her isolation. These efforts humanized Joyce, transforming her from a tragic figure into a person with a rich, albeit troubled, life story. The public reaction evolved alongside this deeper understanding, with many people feeling a sense of collective guilt and responsibility. Questions about the adequacy of social services, community engagement, and the role of technology in masking real-life issues became central to the discourse. The story of Joyce Vincent became a catalyst for broader conversations about mental health, domestic violence, and the importance of maintaining personal connections in an increasingly digital world. In addition, the media scrutiny prompted responses from government officials and social service agencies, who vowed to address the gaps that allowed such a tragic oversight. Policy discussions were initiated, focusing on improving welfare checks and ensuring that support systems were robust enough to catch those slipping through the cracks. The impact of media coverage on Joyce Vincent's story cannot be overstated. It brought to light the stark reality of urban isolation and forced a society to confront uncomfortable truths about its failures. The public reaction, from shock to a deeper reflection, underscored a collective yearning for change. As we continue to explore Joyce's story, it serves as a powerful reminder of the role media plays in shaping public consciousness and driving social change. Stay with us as we delve further into the lessons learned and the steps that can be taken to prevent such heartbreaking tragedies in the future. Documentary Insight, summarizing key points from the documentary Dreams of a Life on Joyce Vincent. The documentary Dreams of a Life by Carol Morley offers a poignant and comprehensive look into the life and untimely death of Joyce Vincent, providing insights that go beyond the headlines. One of the most compelling aspects of the documentary is its exploration of Joyce's vibrant and complex character. Through interviews with friends, acquaintances, and colleagues, viewers are given a glimpse into the multifaceted life she led. The film paints a picture of Joyce as a charismatic and talented individual, someone who was once full of dreams and aspirations. Despite her tragic end, Dreams of a Life emphasizes that Joyce was not merely a victim of her circumstances, but a person with a rich, albeit troubled, life story. The documentary delves into her early years, highlighting how she was a vivacious young woman with a promising future. It traces her career trajectory, relationships, and the gradual unraveling of her once vibrant social life. One of the critical elements the film explores is Joyce's relationships. Interviews reveal the impact of her abusive relationship, which significantly contributed to her isolation. Friends recount how she began to distance herself, sharing stories that shed light on her increasing withdrawal and the factors that led to her living in such secluded conditions. The film also addresses the systemic failures that contributed to Joyce's unnoticed death. It scrutinizes the social services and housing systems, questioning how someone could be so thoroughly forgotten by the institutions meant to protect and assist her. The documentary raises important questions about community responsibility and the effectiveness of social safety nets. Another key point from Dreams of a Life is the examination of urban isolation. It underscores the paradox of living in a densely populated city while feeling utterly alone, a reality that Joyce's life tragically exemplified. The film uses her story as a poignant case study, urging viewers to reflect on the hidden lives that might exist behind closed doors in our own communities. The documentary also explores the psychological aspects of Joyce's isolation. It provides a nuanced view of her mental health, suggesting that her withdrawal was not just a result of external circumstances, but also internal struggles. This perspective adds depth to our understanding of the challenges she faced, emphasizing the need for better mental health awareness and support. Through its narrative, Dreams of a Life humanizes Joyce Vincent, transforming her from a tragic statistic into a real person with hopes, dreams, and a significant impact on those who knew her. The film ends on a reflective note, urging viewers to remember Joyce not just for her tragic end, but for the life she lived and the lessons her story imparts. Stay with us as we continue to unravel the intricate layers of Joyce Vincent's life and the broader societal implications of her untimely demise. Exploring the perspectives of Joyce's friends and family, we gain a deeper understanding of the complexities of her life and the factors that led to her tragic isolation. Many of Joyce's friends remember her as a vibrant and captivating individual who brought energy and joy into every room she entered. Her charisma was palpable, and she had a knack for making people feel special and seen. However, as time went on, they noticed subtle changes. Friends recall how she started to withdraw, becoming less frequent in their social gatherings and more elusive in her interactions. They attributed this to the pressures of her job and personal life, never imagining the extent of her internal struggles. Her distancing behavior was perplexing. Some friends received sporadic messages or brief encounters, but never had the chance to delve deeper into what was troubling her. They expressed feelings of guilt and sorrow, lamenting that they didn't push harder to stay connected. Joyce's family, who lived mostly outside London, experienced a similar sense of loss and confusion. Her sisters remember her as the life of their family, always singing and dreaming of a brighter future. They noted how proud they were of her career achievements and how her success seemed to be the fulfillment of the promise she showed as a child. Yet the geographical and emotional distance grew over time. Family members recounted how calls became infrequent and visits even rarer. They were aware of her struggles with domestic violence, but felt helpless as Joyce chose to deal with her problems privately. Her decision to move frequently added to the challenge of maintaining close ties, and eventually they lost track of her whereabouts. The family's heartache was compounded by the realization that Joyce's isolation was more severe than they had understood. They expressed deep regret for not intervening more assertively, haunted by the thought that their efforts might have made a difference. Friends and family alike were shocked by the news of her death, struggling to reconcile the vibrant woman they knew with the tragic circumstances of her end. They shared memories filled with laughter and joy, holding on to the image of a loving and spirited Joyce, even as they grappled with the pain of her unnoticed suffering. These perspectives highlight the profound impact Joyce had on those around her and the devastating effects of her gradual withdrawal. Stay with us as we continue to examine the broader implications of Joyce Vincent's story, shedding light on the importance of vigilance and connection in preventing such heartbreaking isolation. The forensic analysis of Joyce Vincent's remains provided critical insights into the circumstances surrounding her death, yet also left many questions unanswered. Upon the discovery of her skeletal remains in January 2006, forensic experts embarked on a comprehensive examination to determine the cause of death and the timeline of her final moments. The advanced state of decomposition, having been left for nearly 3 years, posed significant challenges to the investigation. Initial observations suggested no signs of foul play or external injury, hinting that her demise may have been due to natural causes or a medical condition that went untreated. The skeletal remains were meticulously analyzed, with forensic pathologists examining bone structure and any minute remnants of tissue for clues. One of the major findings was the presence of peptic ulcers, which had been documented during her hospital visit in 2003. These ulcers can cause severe pain and complications such as internal bleeding, leading to potential fatal outcomes if untreated. It was evident that Joyce's health had deteriorated significantly, but the exact contribution of these ulcers to her death remained speculative. Toxicology reports offered limited information due to the extent of decomposition. However, there was no substantial evidence of drug overdose or poisoning, which had been one of the potential theories. The lack of toxic substances in her skeletal remains suggested that if medications had played a role, it was either not detectable or not in lethal quantities. Examining the apartment itself provided additional context. The environment pointed to long-term neglect, with unopened mail, unpaid bills, and half-wrapped Christmas presents indicating she had been preparing for the holiday season before her sudden death. The forensic analysis of the scene suggested that whatever led to Joyce's death occurred abruptly, as there were no signs of struggle or a prolonged state of distress evident in the setup of the flat. Further investigation into her medical history revealed past hospital visits and consultations, but nothing conclusive that directly linked to a fatal condition at the time of her death. The inability to establish a clear cause of death through forensic means underscored the complexity of Joyce's final days, mirroring the multifaceted and obscure nature of her life. The lack of a definitive answer left a haunting void, reflecting the broader societal and systemic gaps that allowed her to vanish unnoticed. Despite the exhaustive forensic efforts, Joyce Vincent's cause of death remains officially undetermined, a poignant reminder of the limitations of forensic science when faced with severe decomposition and insufficient historical health data. This enigmatic conclusion reinforces the tragic narrative of Joyce's life, highlighting the need for better support systems that can intervene before such isolation leads to an untraceable and forgotten end. The impact of Joyce Vincent's death on her community and broader society was profound, triggering a wave of introspection and calls for change. In her immediate community, residents of Wood Green and surrounding areas were jolted by the harsh realization that such a tragic scenario could occur right in their midst. This revelation fostered a heightened sense of vigilance and a renewed commitment to fostering more robust community bonds. Neighbors who had previously lived in relative anonymity began to make concerted efforts to check in on each other, recognizing the importance of personal connection and communal responsibility. The broader impact on society was equally significant. Joyce's story illuminated critical failings in social safety nets and underscored the pressing need for systemic reforms. Her unnoticed death brought to light the inadequacies in welfare and social services, prompting a re-evaluation of how these systems operate and their ability to protect vulnerable individuals. There was an immediate response from policymakers and advocacy groups who called for more comprehensive measures to prevent such isolations from recurring. Discussions regarding enhanced welfare checks, better integration of social services, and the implementation of technology to monitor at-risk individuals more effectively became central topics. Additionally, Joyce's story highlighted the pervasive issue of urban isolation, serving as a stark reminder that physical proximity does not equate to social connection. This prompted a societal reckoning with the paradoxes of modern life, where advances in technology and communication often mask underlying disconnection and loneliness. Her death sparked widespread media attention and discourse across social platforms, urging people to reflect on their own communities and interactions. Mental health advocates also seized upon Joyce's story to emphasize the critical need for better mental health support and destigmatization of seeking help. Her experience became a poignant case study in the devastating impacts of untreated mental health issues and the importance of accessible and compassionate care. Educational campaigns and public forums were established to foster greater awareness and understanding of mental health challenges, aiming to build a more supportive and inclusive society. Domestic violence awareness also gained renewed focus, as Joyce's struggles with an abusive relationship were central to her gradual isolation. Advocacy groups pushed for stronger protective measures and support services for those suffering from domestic abuse, recognizing the complex interplay between personal safety, mental health, and social isolation. Joyce Vincent's death, though deeply tragic, served as a catalyst for meaningful conversation and action, reminding society of the fragile nature of human connections and the critical importance of community. Her legacy, though marred by sorrow, spurred efforts towards creating a more connected, caring, and vigilant society, determined to ensure that no one else would suffer in silence and obscurity. As we continue to reflect on Joyce's impact, it is clear that her story has left an indelible mark, urging us all to strive for a world where every individual is seen, heard, and supported. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the ongoing changes and initiatives inspired by Joyce Vincent's story, exploring how her life and death continue to shape our collective journey towards a more compassionate society. Reflecting on the societal lessons from Joyce's tragic story, we begin to understand the urgent need for stronger community ties. Joyce's life and death highlight the alarming gaps in our social fabric, where despite living in a densely populated area, she could disappear in plain sight. This underscores the importance of fostering a sense of community where neighbors look out for one another, ensuring that no one feels invisible or abandoned. We also learn about the critical role of social services and the need for a more compassionate and responsive system. Joyce's unnoticed death points to the failures in our welfare checks and the lack of proactive measures to support those in vulnerable situations. It becomes clear that we need policies that prioritize human connection and well-being over bureaucratic processes, ensuring timely intervention and support for individuals at risk. Another lesson from Joyce's story is the vital importance of mental health awareness and support. Her gradual isolation and eventual demise suggest that untreated mental health issues can lead to devastating outcomes. This calls for a societal shift towards destigmatizing mental health, encouraging open conversations, and making mental health resources more accessible to everyone. Additionally, Joyce's experiences with domestic violence bring to light the need for robust protective measures and support systems for victims of abuse. It reminds us that addressing domestic violence requires a comprehensive approach involving legal, social, and community-based interventions. The role of technology in our lives also comes under scrutiny. While digital connectivity offers many benefits, Joyce's story shows that it can sometimes mask real-life disconnection. We must find a balance between virtual and face-to-face interactions, ensuring that we remain present and attentive to the needs of those around us. Joyce Vincent's story is a poignant reminder of our collective responsibility to ensure that no one feels so isolated and forgotten. It challenges us to create a more inclusive and caring society where every individual is valued and supported. By strengthening community bonds, improving social services, prioritizing mental health, addressing domestic violence comprehensively, and balancing our use of technology, we can prevent such heart-wrenching tragedies in the future. As we reflect on these lessons, let us commit to building a world where everyone, regardless of their circumstances, is seen, heard, and cared for. Continuing Mysteries addressing the ongoing mysteries and unanswered questions surrounding her death. The haunting case of Joyce Vincent continues to perplex and evoke deep curiosity due to the numerous unanswered questions and lingering mysteries. One of the most enigmatic aspects of her story is the exact cause of her death. Despite extensive forensic investigations, the advanced state of decomposition of her remains left many details inconclusive. Was it a medical condition like the complications from her peptic ulcers, or did other undiagnosed health issues play a role? The lack of definitive answers only adds to the somber nature of her demise. Another mystery revolves around the extent of her isolation. How did a woman with such a once bright future and numerous acquaintances become so utterly invisible to the world, to the point that she could lay undiscovered for nearly 3 years? This raises questions about the effectiveness of social safety nets and community vigilance. Joyce's story compels us to ask how many people are currently living in similar, unnoticed isolation. A significant, unresolved question is the identity of the people who sent her Christmas presents, which were found partially wrapped near her remains. Who were they, and what was their last interaction with Joyce? Did they attempt to follow up when they received no response from her, or were they just as distanced as everyone else? These details could potentially provide more context to Joyce's final days and her state of mind. There's also the question of her financial situation. How did the financial institutions and benefits offices fail to escalate her case of unresponsiveness to a welfare check? The unopened mail and unpaid bills suggest persistent attempts to contact her, yet none led to an intervention that might have prevented her unnoticed death. Further mysteries are tied to her mental health. While we know Joyce struggled with depression and possibly other mental health issues, the specific impact of these conditions on her daily life remains unclear. Without a proper diagnosis or treatment records, it's challenging to fully comprehend the psychological battles she faced. Additionally, Joyce's gradual withdrawal from her friends and family leaves us pondering the personal decisions and emotions that led her to such a solitary end. Finally, the broader societal implications of her story continue to resonate. How can we, as a society, prevent others from experiencing a similar fate? This mystery is not just about Joyce Vincent, but about addressing the systemic shortcomings that allow such isolations to occur unnoticed. Joyce's life and death serve as a stern reminder of the fragility of human connections and the invisible struggles many face. These ongoing mysteries compel us to delve deeper into the societal changes required to ensure no one else is left to fade away unnoticed. Stay with us as we continue to explore the complex layers of Joyce Vincent's life and the broader implications her story holds for modern society. Reflecting on Joyce Vincent's story, it's impossible not to feel a mix of emotions: sorrow, disbelief, and a deep understanding of the importance of human connection. Her tragic life and death raise many questions and serve as a poignant reminder of the vulnerabilities we all share. What are your thoughts on Joyce's story? Have you ever encountered or known someone who faced similar isolation? What steps do you believe we can take as a society to prevent such tragedies from happening? We encourage you to share your reflections and theories in the comments below. Your thoughts can help foster a broader conversation about the importance of community, vigilance, and compassion. Let's remember Joyce not just for the heartbreak of her end, but for the lessons her story imparts. And if you found this story impactful, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any future uploads. Your engagement helps us continue to bring these important stories to light. Thank you for watching and for being part of this crucial discussion. In summary, the story of Joyce Vincent is a haunting tale that underscores the profound solitude that can exist amidst the hustle and bustle of modern city life. From her promising beginnings to her tragic end, Joyce's life is a stark reminder of how isolation can creep in, unnoticed and unchecked. Her unnoticed death for nearly 3 years, as she lay surrounded by Christmas presents and the eerie hum of an ever-buzzing TV, paints a chilling picture of urban alienation. This case has revealed the significant gaps in our societal safety nets, the breakdown of community bonds, and the critical need for mental health awareness and support. It also highlights the importance of vigilance and compassion in ensuring the well-being of those around us. Joyce Vincent's story is not just a tale of one woman's silent suffering. It is a call to action for all of us to foster stronger connections and support systems. As we reflect on her life, let us remember the importance of reaching out to those who may be silently struggling and the vital role of community in preventing such heart-wrenching tragedies. Thank you for joining us in unraveling this poignant story. If Joyce's story has touched you, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our future content. Let us know your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. Together, we can work towards a more compassionate and connected society.